Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and as you know, I've been following one of the darkest aspects of any type of sports, let alone combat sports, let alone the UFC, for some time, and that is the alleged brutal beating, rape, and sodomy, which left a woman bruised and bleeding, that took place in December, allegedly, by Conor McGregor in front of multiple witnesses. And the ensuing cover-up, because of people like Disney, who owns ESPN, who now has a deal with the UFC, people like WME Entertainment that bought the UFC, because he's a big draw. Now, I've been smeared for my reporting on this. I've been told what I was reporting were rumors. But more and more evidence comes to the surface, and I do more and more videos. Well, Mr. McGregor earlier today, in Moscow, in a press conference to promote his whiskey, says he's going to be fighting January 18th at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. It's not going to happen. First of all, I would like to point people to this. McGregor is not healthy in this, and this is not coming from like some kind of a hater. Please watch the video. He's clearly on some type of drug. He's stuttering multiple times throughout. He can't speak. He continues to talk about children's hospitals and focusing on his kids. The woman, who's very awkward because, English is clearly her second language, and, she's asking these very generic questions, sounds better than Conor. You watch when Conor, was an athlete, wasn't spending his time with thugs and smoking crack cocaine and drinking alcohol and doing all these types of horrible things on the regular. Who knows what he was doing, side to side, right? But before that, he's very sharp, whether you liked him or not. He's not sharp here. But again, go watch it for yourself. Now, he didn't announce that he had an opponent for this person, because I don't think the UFC wants to give him the fight. He's probably trying to assure them that even though the victim of that December case didn't take a $1+ million payout, she'll take the next payout, which is going to be 5 or 10 or 20 million. Lord knows what's really going on there. But the truth of the matter is, we have somebody who's fighting this, who is fighting a system where 8% of rapes that are reported, sexual assaults that are reported in Ireland, get convictions. Think about how twisted that is. And again, the fanboys will tell you that this isn't true. Conor is now talking about, well, if they won't let me fight, I'll do a show for charity. I'll do whatever. I'll give my purse up and fight Frankie Edgar. During this really awkward, I watched about 40 minutes of it. You can go check it out. I didn't get quite to the end. Again, he's stuttering, he's stammering, he's talking about how he's going to have discipline again, and he's not going to be putting anything in his body, but then he's bragging about how much he can drink. It's a very confusing and odd showing for McGregor. It does not show him well, but the media won't tell you that. They'll just try to hope up. McGregor returns January 18th. And, he rips into the UFC here, and he tells them to ask the UFC who his opponent is. And remember, he's been connected to a ton, but I don't think that they want to be connected with somebody who's about to go to trial where, and I quote, where a senior police source 2 days after the event, after confirming that statements were made by others that were hugely detailed and complex and go into minute detail of every aspect of the night in question, okay, that at the end of the day, there is no doubt that this young lady suffered a horrendous ordeal. The examinations and all of the evidence, not some, all of the evidence, shows that she was raped and very badly assaulted in that penthouse. And then you find out, hey, this isn't even the first time he was accused of such things, but those things went away with those kind of payouts we talked about, right? And then you learn, hey, the New York Times this week reported on an incident that took place a week before that the American media still isn't following up on. And when it did come out in the New York Times in April, right, after he'd done this and he'd been arrested in January in what was a very complex case, what was the focus that day? McGregor announces retirement. So I think at this point, the UFC and WME and Disney, they might be shifting. But I'll tell you right now, he's not fighting in January. You can't let that happen. I'm not going to let that happen. Even on this, what seems to be a small issue on the scale of things that I cover, from the Snowden interview, NSA, mass surveillance, the police state, foreign policy, the unjust wars in the Middle East, 9/11, right? Epstein, Nexium. This shows you that when you're worth hundreds of millions of dollars, multiple billions of dollars to institutions that are supposed to be, for family values, that are supposed to be there for you and yours, that type of entertainment, in reality, they don't care. But they care when you take notice. Remember, Miramax, although Harvey Weinstein walks around today, Miramax itself was the adult Disney. So really, it's just another layer on this system. Because you don't think that Disney execs knew what Harvey Weinstein was up to? You don't think Disney execs knew after they made that deal with WME Entertainment and ESPN and UFC? You don't think Dana White didn't know what the details of this case were? They said, don't worry about it, Dana. She still hasn't even given a formal statement. She didn't do so until either late December or early January. Despite the fact that all the reports after this very violent incident took place, and again, you can just go to my thread, it's pinned to my profile, please, that, after he said that, he said it was consensual. We're talking about some consensual stuff here, guys. Because, when I have consensual sex with a woman, okay, what I like to do is I like to get a lawyer, go down to the local police department, and declare that I had consensual sex with that woman. That makes sense, right? Especially for an innocent man. So, get ready. It's really early today. It's about 8 a.m. Eastern. The West Coast still pretty sleepy. But all over the media today, they're going to be asking the UFC, who's Conor's opponent? Conor says he's fighting January 18th. He's not fighting January 18th. And I feel bad for the person that was going to get the payday to fight this has-been, this drug addict, this violent rapist. But the only cage he's ever going to see again, where? It's going to be in a prison cell for the crimes that he's committed. And that's the reality of the situation. And, it's sad because they roll this guy out with Perry Match. He's trying to make other business associations outside of MMA and the UFC, because that's falling apart, and he knows it. And the UFC had made a deal with Perry Match now, too. I wonder how much of this is going to have to be thrown into the public arena and say, we had no idea. As soon as we did, we cut ties with him. We got rid of him. But the man is clearly not well. He's clearly not well. Please, if you doubt me, if you're some kind of a fanboy and you think that, all these mainstream articles here that explain exactly what I just told you are fake, or that I made them up, or that these quotes aren't real, they're all publicly available. It's not even been reported in the media that in the United States media, that this woman has refused a $1+ million payout, period. That's still being covered up here. Now people like Brendan Schaub are finally starting to talk about it on their podcast, but still not going as deep and hard as they need to be. It's up to you guys. Let's get this info out. Let's ensure that Dana White and the UFC deny there's any fight on January 18th, because there is no fight happening. We can't allow this guy to step into that cage. It would be a complete injustice and a spit in the face of his multiple victims. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please thumbs it up, share it with others, get the word out, let them know, the evidence, the very detailed evidence of the violent rapes that McGregor has committed. I'm a documentary filmmaker. They're all free here. Loose Change Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, and New World Order Defined, and Shade the Motion Picture. We're doing it 3 to 10 times a day. I believe this is already video 4. I've been up pretty early. We talked ISIS beheadings on TikTok. We talked Edward Snowden, and we also talked about the recent lawsuit with Scientology. Hopefully we have Peter Dale Scott coming up at 11 a.m. here. I want to say thank you to you guys. And remember, I give it all away for free. This is how I do it, is the GoFundMe. So $5, $10, $15, it means the world to me. It keeps this operation going, and it keeps me on top of news that you may not hear anywhere else. And we're not coming at with a left, right, conservative, liberal perspective, man. It's never about left or right. It's about right and wrong. I'll see you on the flip side.